Nobody knew that the quiet night security guard at Mercy General Hospital was actually a Navy
Don't
SEAL
do this.
legend who had served in the world's most dangerous operations. And
You
tonight,
can't stop me.
the lives of 100 innocent people depended on him revealing his secret identity. Petty Officer First Class David Reaper Chen had been working the night shift as a security guard at Mercy General Hospital in San Francisco for the past 5 years. At 38, average height, quiet, and always polite, David was just Dave to the hospital staff, the friendly security guard who patrolled the halls at night with a gentle smile. The hospital employees never questioned why David always preferred the night shift, why he never took vacations, or why his hands had so many scars. He was just reliable, quiet Dave, but nobody knew who David really was. That Friday night, David had started his shift at 11 p.m. The hospital was unusually busy. A major car accident had brought 15 critical patients to the ER. The ICU was full, and there were many people fighting for their lives in intensive care. David was in the security office, monitoring 40 screens and preparing for his routine rounds when sounds from the main entrance caught his attention. Three men were approaching the night reception desk. Their movement patterns triggered David's military senses. These weren't normal visitors. Coordinated movement, tactical awareness, concealed carry postures. This is where everything changed. David zoomed the cameras to get a better look at the men's faces. That's when he was shocked. The leader was Viktor Viper Kozlov, a former Spetsnaz operative, and the man David thought he had killed during a black ops mission in Syria. But he was clearly alive and seeking revenge. David's hands trembled slightly. His quiet life of 5 years was coming to an end. Kozlov being here was no coincidence. He had planned this. He reached for the security radio, but at that moment, the power went out. Backup generators kicked in, but communications were down. David was alone. Under the emergency lighting, he watched through cameras as Kozlov spread through the hospital with his team. Their target was clear: VIP patients in the ICU. From intelligence, he knew there was a federal witness and two high-profile protected persons in the ICU tonight. But you haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. David opened the security locker and reached for his emergency kit that he hadn't touched in 5 years. Inside were tactical flashlight, zip ties, pepper spray, and most importantly, encrypted communication device. "Base, this is Reaper," he whispered into the emergency frequency. "Mercy General under hostile assault. Need immediate backup." The voice from the other end was familiar. "Reaper? David, we thought you were retired. What's your status?" "Kozlov is alive. He's here with a team. Hospital has 100 plus patients, including federal witnesses in ICU. Going dark." David turned off the radio. This was no longer Navy SEAL operational procedure. This was time for David Chen to defend the people he protected. Now what you're seeing is nothing. David visualized the hospital layout in his mind. Thanks to 5 years of night shift experience, he knew every corridor, every emergency exit, every utility room. This was his tactical advantage. Kozlov's target was in ICU room 314, federal witness Marcus Rodriguez. But to get there, he had to pass through the pediatric wing, and there were 20 child patients there. David's priority was crystal clear: protect the children, evacuate the witnesses, neutralize Kozlov. First move: move all children in the pediatric wing to a secure area. David quietly entered the children's ward using his master keys. Night nurse Jennifer was shocked. David, what are you doing here? And why do you have tactical gear? Jen, listen carefully. Bad people in the hospital. I need you to move all kids to the basement conference room. Lock it from inside. Don't come out until I personally come get you. Wait a minute. Don't miss this detail. Jennifer noticed David's completely different demeanor. This wasn't gentle security guard Dave. This was a professional, commanding, dangerous someone. David, who are you really? Someone who's going to keep these kids safe. Go. Now. Jennifer started moving the children without asking questions. David's tone left no room for discussion. Meanwhile, David saw through cameras that Kozlov's team had split up. Two men were moving toward the ICU. Kozlov was going to the basement, probably to completely disable the power grid. David made a strategic choice. Personal confrontation with Kozlov later. First priority was to protect patients and staff in the ICU. You won't believe this, but as David approached the ICU, he saw scattered medical equipment along the corridor, signs of invasion. Two hostiles had entered the ICU and taken staff hostage. Using his knowledge of the ventilation system, David found an entry point from above the ICU. Thanks to 5 years of maintenance rounds, he knew the ceiling access. Quietly lifting ceiling tiles, he observed the ICU from above. Two gunmen had taken 6 staff members and 8 critical patients hostage. Head nurse Patricia had her hands up, trembling. David's Navy SEAL training kicked in. 2 hostiles, confined space, multiple civilians. Precision operation required. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. David made a silent descent from the ceiling. He dropped behind the first gunman, rendered him unconscious with a sleeper hold, and confiscated his weapon. Before the second gunman realized, David was already moving. The second gunman was pointing his weapon at Patricia. Where's Rodriguez? Room 314? David approached from behind. Looking for someone? The gunman turned. David disarmed him with textbook SEAL technique. 2 hostiles neutralized. 0 civilian casualties. Patricia was shocked. David, what just happened? Ma'am, I need you to evacuate all mobile patients to the East Wing. Leave critical patients on life support, but clear the area. David, I don't understand. Patricia, trust me, more bad guys coming. But the most shocking part was, David secured the weapons and established the ICU as a fortification point. Kozlov would return from the basement, and this time he would come for personal vengeance. From radio chatter, he understood that Kozlov couldn't get reports from his other team members. Plan disrupted, operation compromised. David activated the emergency intercom. Attention all staff, this is security, code black in effect. All non-essential personnel evacuate through east exits. This is not a drill. Hospital-wide panic began, but it was organized evacuation. David's 5 years of emergency drill experience provided guidance. Here was the real plan. David would trap Kozlov in the ICU, move civilians away, then have a one-on-one confrontation. Keep the personal vendetta away from civilians. Kozlov came up from the basement and called his other team members on radio. Volkov, Petrov, report. Silence. Dmitri, status. More silence. Kozlov realized professional opposition. This wasn't random security. But then something unexpected happened. Kozlov hacked the hospital intercom. David Chen, I know you're here. 5 years I've been looking for you. David's blood chilled. Kozlov definitely knew he was here. Syria 2019. You killed my brother Alexei. Tonight I collect the debt. David responded over the intercom. Victor, your brother was trafficking children. He deserved worse than what he got. Maybe, but you destroyed my family. Tonight, I destroy yours. David was confused. I don't have family here, Victor. Really? Jennifer Martinez, pediatric nurse. Your girlfriend for the past 2 years. Very pretty. Very vulnerable. But then everything changed. David's world shattered. Kozlov had targeted Jennifer. Personal vendetta now involved civilians. Victor, Jennifer's innocent. This is between you and me. Innocent people suffer in war, David. You taught me that. David frantically ran toward the pediatric wing. Jennifer and the children were in the basement conference room, but Kozlov was heading there. Taking the stairs 3 at a time, he reached the basement. Conference room door was barricaded, but Kozlov's footsteps were approaching. David faced a critical decision. Engage with Kozlov and protect Jennifer. You won't believe what happened. David gently knocked on the conference room door. Jen, it's David. I need you to keep the kids calm. Someone bad is coming, but I'll stop him. Jennifer's muffled voice. David, I'm scared. Who are these people? People from my old life. Jen, whatever happens, don't open this door for anyone but me. David turned around. Kozlov was at the other end of the corridor, approaching with an automatic weapon. David Chen, Navy SEAL, Team 6, very impressive record. Viktor Kozlov, disgraced Spetsnaz, human trafficking, less impressive. The two men slowly approached each other. Professional killers, personal vendetta, confined space. When the final move came, your girlfriend and those children will watch you die, David. Not happening, Victor. Combat engaged. David unarmed, Kozlov with automatic weapon. But David knew the basement layout. Kozlov didn't. David used utility pipes for cover, made Kozlov waste his ammunition. Hospital basement was like a maze. David's advantage. Kozlov frustrated, reckless shots. David patient, calculating, waiting for opportunity. When the final confrontation began, Kozlov's ammunition exhausted, he switched to backup weapon. David seized the moment, rush attack, disarm, hand-to-hand combat. Two professional fighters, years of training, personal stakes, neither backing down. David's advantage, protective motivation. Jennifer and the children were behind him. Kozlov's disadvantage, anger clouding judgment, the last-second shock. During the fight, David subdued Kozlov, but Kozlov had a last resort, hidden explosive device. If I can't kill you, we all die together. David realized, suicide bomber scenario. The children in the conference room were in the blast radius. Split-second decision. David grabbed Kozlov, bodily carried him away from the conference room toward the opposite end of the basement. Explosion. David and Kozlov caught in the blast, but the children were safe. 2 hours later, David was sitting in the hospital emergency room, wrapped in bandages next to Jennifer. David, Jennifer asked quietly, who are you really? David looked around. The hospital he had protected for 5 years, the staff he had worked with, the patients he had kept safe. I was a Navy SEAL, Jen, but that was my old life. My real life is here, with you, protecting this place. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to be just David. Security guard David. Not Reaper, not the killer, just the guy who keeps people safe at night. Jennifer took his hand. You are David, you're my David, the one who reads bedtime stories to pediatric patients when they can't sleep. But the real ending was this. The next week, David returned to work. Hospital administration offered him head of security position. Media wanted interviews. The Navy wanted him back. He declined everything. That night, doing his usual rounds, David stopped by the pediatric wing. Jennifer was there, reading to little Emma, who couldn't sleep. "Mr. David," Emma called out, "Nurse Jen told me you're a hero." David sat down beside her bed. "No, Emma, I'm just the security guard who makes sure everyone stays safe while they sleep." "That sounds like a hero to me," David smiled. Emma was right. Being a hero wasn't about the medals or the missions. It was about choosing to protect people every single day, even when nobody knows your real story. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who choose the quiet watch, who stand guard while others sleep, who find their purpose in protection rather than recognition. David Reaper Chen continues his night shift at Mercy General. The other staff now know his background, but to them, he's still just Dave, the security guard who makes everyone feel safe, who reads to scared children, and who chose healing over warfare. And every night, when he makes his rounds through those quiet corridors, David knows he's exactly where he belongs. Because the most important battles aren't fought in foreign countries. They're fought in hospital hallways by people who choose to serve others, one quiet night at a time. Some warriors find their peace on the battlefield. Others find it in becoming the guardian angel that watches over those who can't protect themselves. David Chen found his peace in the night shift, and that makes him the most dangerous kind of protector, one who fights for love, not glory. The transformation of David Chen from Navy SEAL to hospital guardian wasn't immediate. When he first arrived in San Francisco 5 years ago, he was broken, haunted by classified missions that had saved lives but cost him pieces of his soul. The transition from the battlefield to civilian life had been brutal for many veterans, but David found something different in the sterile halls of Mercy General. It started with a single night shift opening. The hospital needed someone reliable, someone who could handle the quiet emergencies that happened in the dark hours when most of the city slept. David applied not because he needed the job, but because he needed the purpose. The first month was the hardest. Every shadow in the corridors reminded him of enemy movements. Every unexpected sound made his hand reach for weapons that weren't there. But gradually, the healing environment began to work its magic on the healer. The breakthrough came during his 6th week, when he encountered 7-year-old Marcus in the pediatric ward. The boy couldn't sleep, terrified of the monsters he was sure lived in the hospital's dark corners. Instead of walking past, David sat down and began telling him stories, not fairy tales, but stories about brave guardians who protected children while they slept. "Are you a guardian, Mr. Dave?" Marcus had asked. "I try to be," David had answered, and in that moment, he found his new mission. Night after night, David's rounds became more than security checks. He became the gentle presence who calmed frightened patients, who knew which vending machine had the freshest sandwiches for exhausted families, who could fix a broken wheelchair or locate a missing stuffed animal with equal efficiency. The staff began to depend on him in ways that went far beyond his job description. He was the one they called when elderly Mrs. Patterson couldn't remember where she was, the one who somehow always appeared when new parents needed someone to hold their baby while they filled out paperwork. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the head of pediatrics, once told Jennifer, "I don't know what it is about Dave, but kids just trust him instantly. He has this way of making them feel safe. Jennifer had noticed it too. David had a gift for reading people's fears and knowing exactly how to address them. She never questioned the scars on his hands or the way he instinctively positioned himself between her and potential threats. She just knew that when David was around, everything felt more secure. The night of the attack, when David's past finally caught up with his present, the hospital staff discovered that their gentle guardian had always been exactly what they needed: a protector who understood that the greatest strength sometimes comes from choosing when not to fight. In the weeks following the incident, David received dozens of letters from patients and families whose lives he had touched during his 5 years of service. Children drew pictures of Mr. Dave the hero. Parents wrote thank you notes for the nights he had stayed late to comfort a scared child or help locate a misplaced belonging. But the letter that meant the most came from little Emma, written in crayon with help from Nurse Jennifer. Dear Mr. Dave, thank you for keeping the monsters away. You are the best guardian ever. Love, Emma. David framed that letter and hung it in the security office, a daily reminder that heroism isn't measured in medals or commendations, but in the quiet moments when you choose to stand between fear and innocence, between danger and safety, between the darkness and the light. Today, David Chen continues to walk the halls of Mercy General Hospital, carrying with him the knowledge that sometimes the most important missions are the ones nobody else knows about. And sometimes the greatest victories are won not with weapons, but with compassion, dedication, and the simple choice to show up every night and stand guard while others sleep peacefully in their beds. The hospital has changed since that night. New security protocols have been implemented. But David knows that the real security comes from the relationships he's built over 5 years of service. The trust of the staff, the love of the patients, and the knowledge that he belongs exactly where he is. Every evening at 11 p.m., when David puts on his security uniform and clips his radio to his belt, he's not just starting another shift. He's beginning another mission. Not one assigned by commanding officers or driven by national security, but one chosen from the heart. A mission to protect the vulnerable, comfort the afraid, and stand guard over those who cannot protect themselves. The children in the pediatric ward still call him Mr. Dave, and he still reads them stories when they can't sleep. But now, those stories have a different meaning. They're not just tales to pass the time. They're reminders that real heroes don't always carry weapons or wear medals. Sometimes they carry flashlights and keys, and their greatest weapon is the choice to care. Dr. Martinez approached David one evening, 3 months after the incident. Dave, I need to ask you something that's been bothering me. What's that, Doc? That night, when everything went crazy, you knew exactly what to do. It was like you'd been preparing for it your whole life. David paused his rounds and looked through the window at the children sleeping safely in their beds. Maybe I was, Doc. Maybe we're all preparing for the moment when we have to choose who we really want to be. And who did you choose to be? The guy who makes sure kids like Emma can sleep without being afraid of monsters. The conversation stayed with David as he continued his rounds. He realized that his journey from Navy SEAL to hospital guardian wasn't about leaving his old life behind. It was about finding the truest expression of who he had always been: a protector, a guardian, someone who stood between the innocent and the darkness. The scars on his hands tell stories of battles fought in distant lands, but the badge on his uniform tells a different story, one of service chosen freely, of protection given gladly, of a warrior who found his peace not in ending conflicts, but in preventing them. As the night deepens and the hospital settles into its quiet rhythm, David Chen walks the halls with the measured pace of someone who knows exactly where he belongs. His footsteps echo softly on the polished floors, a gentle reminder to anyone listening that someone is watching, someone is caring, someone is there. The night shift guardian has found his calling, and in protecting others, he has discovered the most important truth of all: that true strength isn't measured by what you can destroy, but by what you choose to protect, nurture, and defend.